How would you like to have access to all the gun weapon data of PUBG and be able to always find an updated version of this whenever PUBG changes a gun or adds a new weapon, and then download this and use it on your PC to know exactly the strength and weaknesses of the different guns in the different situations? Well, in this video, you'll find out. Welcome guys. For the longest time, there really hasn't been any available source of updated PUBG gun data. That is usually something I would find on the battlegrounds.party website. However, the author of this website has not really been active in PUBG for years, and it's really quite impressive that he's kept it up to date for that long. So thank you for doing that, Bisfarts. Yeah, that's the name he goes by. I love the internet. So moving on from here, I've been really struggling to find updated and reliable data for my gun videos, for the videos where I compare weapons, because I can't really give you guys videos with the incorrect data, or at the very least, the risk of incorrect data. So I've decided to build something myself. This is my PUBG gun data spreadsheet that contains all the damage values and everything you need for all the guns as damage changes, both over distance with the health of the player and with armor. It will, based on your inputs of the health of the player and the distance to the player, which is by default 100 health and 1 meter distance to a player, calculate based on the armor that you choose, the weapons you choose, and so on. It will calculate every single damage impact value for all the different parts of the body. Then it will calculate how many hits do you need when shooting that piece of the body to kill the player. Then it would also calculate how long that takes in seconds, so the time to kill. And then finally, I'm working a little bit with this data to have a value that is the time to kill average, which is a more representative value of how long it actually takes, and which is really the value that you can use to compare the lethality of these guns and see which gun is deadlier. Now, before I tell you where you can find this updated version of the spreadsheet, I quickly want to just say that if you really appreciate what I'm doing here, you can support me using my PUBG creator code on accounts.crafton.com. This way, you support me with a percentage of everything you spend within PUBG, and this truly helps me and motivates me a lot to keep on pushing for this type of PUBG content. Thank you for that. So now I'll explain how to find the sheet and how to use it. And after that, I'll explain to some of you nerds like me how I did this and how I built it. To view or download the spreadsheet, all you gotta do is go to wackyjackie101.com. And on that site, you press the PUBG tools in the top menu. Once you're on this side, it's pretty straightforward. You just click the view spreadsheet button. Keep in mind that this page will always have the latest version of this with guns that are just added to the game or weapon balance changes and so on. Pressing view spreadsheet opens the spreadsheet. And the way you use this data is quite straightforward. First, you want to probably select what armor you're fighting against. You can select, for example, level 2 armor. Next up, you want to know how far away is your enemy. I don't know, let's simulate a situation where there's 25 meters to the enemy. And then finally, you can select the health of the player you're fighting. Now, the reason this is relevant is, of course, because if you're always simulating situations where a health of the player is 100, then that's not really very realistic. Very often, you should be looking at 75 health as well, which is the health that the player has after healing with a first aid. Now, next up, we can have the look. For example, we can check the damage values of full auto weapons only. So now we're only looking at full auto weapons against level 2 in PUBG. So with this specific selection, you can now compare the damage per hit to each different body part. You can also compare the hits required to kill for each single body part. And then finally, the time to kill, which is really the relevant stuff that you should be looking at. And what is really interesting, and what I feel like is probably the most representative value for how deadly a weapon is the time to kill average on the upper body. So that is assuming that you're hitting the upper body of a player and then averaging out on the other body parts. So when you look at this, let's, for example, look at our selection here. You can see that the AKM will kill on average on this distance and with all the selections in 0.278 seconds or 278 milliseconds. And you can see by the coloring which one kills faster. So clearly that is the MK14 that is by far the deadliest in this situation. Now, things might change a little bit if you change the health of the player. So for example, let's select a player with health of, I don't know, 78. In this situation, the MG3 is now the deadliest weapon. Of course, with an exception of the O12, which, you know, realistically, yeah, you might be able to hit your shots consistently as someone 25 meters away, but that thing is crazy, guys. And you might want to see this for a level 3 gear player too. So let's select a level 3 gear player. And there are your values. And you can keep changing these as you like. You can say, but the player is 50% health and he is 200 meters away. Well, in that case, well, the MK14 is absolutely insane, right? So I know looking at the numbers like this, it's not the most visual appealing, but you can make your own graphs and stuff. In time, I'm going to update this so it's more visual and easy to quickly understand the data you're looking at. But for now, this is how you use it, guys, and I hope that you'll find it helpful. This took me days to build, and I'm going to go over exactly how you calculate damage for a gun in PUBG, because there is a lot of math behind this, actually. The first thing you gotta have is the base damage of the weapon, and you should see that in the sheet if you set the distance to 1 for all guns. That should be always the base damage. That damage is then being multiplied for every single body part. The base damage is being multiplied by a percentage. So, for example, for the neck, that is being multiplied by 0.75. And now we multiply that again by the damage class of the weapon. So for example, for an SMG, if you shoot the neck again, that would be multiplied by 210%. All right. So now that you have that, you should have the damage against an unarmored target for every single piece of the body. All right. But in PUBG, you often wear armor. So you also need to multiply that by the armor that one is using. So for example, for a level 2 vest, that would be 40%. And now next, you want to take into consideration how far away the player is. And this is where it truly gets tricky, because the way PUBG calculates this is crazy. In order to find out how to do this, I contacted the original owner of Battlegrounds Party, and he told me that they were using curves found within Unreal Engine. So, well, I found the curves within Unreal Engine according to his instructions, and then I took those and I used ChatGPT to convert those to JavaScript, and then I installed Visual Studio, and I somehow, over many hours of trying, managed to create a working script that takes the damage values of the guns and uses the curves found in Unreal Engine to then calculate the exact damage multiplier over distance. So for every single gun, there is a certain multiplier along this curve that I'm using here. So because, yeah. And guys, this just took ages to figure out and do, but everything is in the sheet now, so you don't have to worry about it. All right, so now that we've done all of this, we have the correct damage value for this specific gun. So next, we need to know how many hits required to kill a player. So for that, we're gonna take the health of the player and divide that by the damage, and always round up to the next whole, because you can't really shoot 1.5 shots from a gun. That doesn't make any sense. You always have to round up. And then we take that value and we use the time between shots which is the rate of fire, to know the time to kill. And finally, I'm doing these averaging of the different body parts. For example, the one I like the most is the upper body average, and you can see that that has the upper body of a player. So that really is the most representative, I feel like, because usually most people are able to hit somewhere in the upper body. Yeah. And for the future, I will be making sure to update this with the guns that are being added. For example, in a moment, we're getting a new SMG. That one will be part of this very soon as well. I hope you're gonna like this. Feel free to work with the data the way you like. And if you find any errors, by all means, let me know. Then I'll fix it and upload an updated version once again. So thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.